Today on episode 16 of the Sean and Bo Show. It's Johnny Football Mania in preseason. We'll take a look at the game tape and try to figure out how he did.
And Kansas City Chiefs All-Pro running back Jamaal Charles injures himself carrying a box. We'll review some of the dumbest sports injuries of all time.
Plus, our favorite thing to talk about, Bigfoot. Some scintillating new footage comes out of Lake Tahoe. We'll speak to the paranormal review about whether or not it could be Squatch. It's coming up on the Sean and Bo Show. What's up, everybody? Episode 16 of the Sean and Bo Show. Hope everybody's having a good Monday. Show coming a little bit later than it normally is tonight, Bo, because we were enthralled by Johnny Football watching the preseason game against the Redskins. So we're going to begin there, Bo. What did you think of Mr. Jonathan Football tonight?
You know, a lot of people, we already see the mothership. They're going to jump out in front. They're going to overanalyze what tape they have on Manziel. I was impressed. I think he did a good job at what they're trying to have him do. And I'm not obviously sitting in a Browns locker room where I can tell you, or a meeting room with the coaches, but it looks real stale. There's not a lot of, different formations and not a lot of guys going in motion. I see they got one penalty there where the illegal procedure didn't have enough men on the line of scrimmage. That's still what they're dealing with. As an organization, I don't expect the Browns to be where you've seen the Broncos a couple days ago destroying the Niners. They're right where you expect them to be. They have a guy that's young at quarterback. He doesn't look like he really knows what he's doing, but you have some guys around him that are trying to pick him up and bring him along with them. And
looks like they're playing for him. You know, it looks like the team is behind his efforts. He had more completions, more passing yards than Hoyer in that portion of the game we watched. I don't know how I missed this, but speaking of ESPN, it's already all over SportsCenter. At some point, and I really wish I would have seen this during the game live without the pixelation, because apparently after a completion, he flipped off the Redskins line.
I think we were watching that play. I remember that specific play. It's just that he was behind the cameras. The cameras were still on the incomplete pass, and that's just the power of the mothership. Like, the mothership's
kept it in the truck.
Yeah, like, we got cameras everywhere, Johnny. You're not getting away with anything, baby. You know, and they got him. Johnny, if I was your coach, I'd tell you need to be smarter than that. You need to be bigger than the moment. But as a player, deep down inside, even as a coach, I'm thinking, that's the guy that I'm going in the battle with. The guy that's going to flip off the Redskins, because I don't know what they're yelling. I imagine they're all Heisman or something like that or whatever. I love that fire. The guys that I don't like, that the Colin Cowherds of the world like, are the Tom Brady's, the Peyton Mannings. They just don't seem like the type of guys I want to go into battle with. Yeah, they can throw for 1,000,000 yards, but football's a physical game. If I'm an offensive lineman, I'm breaking fingers, I'm hurting knees, protecting these guys. I want to see a guy show some emotion and show some fire. And Johnny Manziel passed that test tonight, and he kept it under control. He could have went all crazy and been flipping them off and talking, but he flipped them off. He went into the sideline. He got his earful from his coach, and then he went back in the huddle. He kept playing ball. I like that.
No penalty on the play.
Yeah, no penalty. The only people that have a problem with it are the guys in the, like you said, in the truck for the mothership. They're the only ones who've seen it. Nobody else really caught it.
And speaking of penalties, Bo, this is what has really, really grinded my gears this preseason. It's almost made the games impossible to watch. I mean, it's like every other play. There's a pass interference call or a hold. It's like, where did all these penalties come from? And Pro Football Talk actually crunched the numbers on this, and penalties are indeed up across the league through 62 games. Wait, is that right? That can't be right. 62 games in the preseason already?
Dang.
Officials have called an average of 23.7 penalties per game. Almost 24 penalties a game. You know, you break that down, that's 6 a quarter.
Yeah.
That's one every 2 minutes, basically. And the worst part about this to me is that the league is kind of steadfast in saying that this is how it's going to be all season.
Yeah, they're just positioning themselves for those lawsuits, man. Just think about this. If an attorney is trying to sue an organization, and that organization was not calling penalties and had a bunch of players with concussions 10 years before, and then 10 years after the lawsuit is handed down the first time, you can go back and say, well, Mr. Supreme Court, don't sue us for another $800 million because since 2000 whatever, we've increased on, penalties on the field by 30% or whatever. That's what they're doing. It's all litigation because I like the statistics that I seen where they were showing in previous years, the previous 5 seasons, preseason flags are thrown just 1% to 2% above to what they are during the season. So right now, if that's the case, the flags would have to drop off, like you said, 6 a quarter.
Well, right now the average that we're going with in the preseason so far is almost twice the total of the 2013 regular season.
That's what they were saying during the preseason of 2013, that was last year when we had the referees on holdout, right? When we had the horrible refs, they're actually 5 flags a game above that average. So you're telling me this wasn't handed down from Goodell? Yes, it was, because the only reason the experienced refs would be throwing more flags is if their boss told them to.
And the VP of NFL officiating actually spoke out about this issue, Dean Blandino, saying to the Monday Morning Quarterback, quote, "We're not going to change how we're calling the games once the regular season starts." He added that the way the game's being officiated now is the way it's going to be officiated when the season begins. We have to remain consistent. I knew we'd see a spike in calls when we put out those points of emphasis, but coaches adjust and players adjust. They have to, and they know it. So, they might adjust, but are fans going to adjust? I might be throwing my beer at the TV screen if I've got to watch this many penalties just trying to sit back and enjoy a Sunday afternoon, man.
You're right. It's definitely the talk of the nation. Things like this are usually kind of just water cooler talk, but I thought it was comical that somewhere during the week I was trolling through the radio stations and a young lady calls in from somewhere in like Minnesota and she's complaining about the flags. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is really a problem, because if me and my friends notice it who watch way too much football and this little lady notice it, and she's just a Green Bay Packers fan, there's an issue. So if your casual fan can pick out that there's way too many flags being thrown, that means the guys like me and Sean who are obsessed with this game, we're going to be sick. It's
literally, man. Like, it's hard to watch.
Really sick.
Ugh.
Like, the ratings for the NFL were brought up through fantasy football. And I've always said you can the sky's the limit if they keep pushing this fantasy football angle. Watch every game. You got a player in every game now. Well, it'll take that away. I'm not going to watch some other team with one player on it if every 5 minutes there's a flag, a penalty, bring them back, illegal contact, helmet to helmet. Get out of here. And I'm not even just worried about this game, because we know the pro game, even though it is physical, they don't play as physical as the college game, because we're talking about option football. You're going to tell me University of Oregon's, the universities of Air Force, Navy, New Mexico, who love to run an option attack, are not going to be set up by these new calls when people lead with their head. And I want to say that rule in college has something to do with whenever a running back is free, he's not in a pile, like he's running at you, that open field tackle, you can't lead with your head anymore. I don't know if I'm misinterpreting the rules. I just remember there being a lot of discussion about this during the conference meetings. So I know option football, the whole idea is to get a man one-on-one on the edge. So if you have a man one-on-one and you can't just take him out at the knees because you're lowering your head, not tackling properly, if that's a 15-yard penalty every time, New Mexico, let's go, baby. We're going to win the Mountain West running option.
Now, there's a few other stories around the league, but before we get to them, we would like to remind you that you can check out previous episodes at SeanandBoShow.podomatic.com. Follow us on Twitter at SeanandBoShow. And Bo, I'm not above pandering to the masses. I'm not above gimmicks to get us more followers on Twitter.
No.
So, I think some folks might be curious about what our setup looks like, what we look like. So here it is. I hate selfies, Bo. We're about to take a selfie.
Got to do a selfie.
You want to see what it looks like? Go to our Twitter at Sean and Bo Show. So here we go, Bo. Let's just,
so we can get this.
Oh, that's compelling. That's compelling podcasting right there. All right. That's going to be up on Twitter, so definitely check that out. Around the NFL, Jimmy Graham already causing some controversy about the rule that was designed to stop him from dunking, and what does he do? Dunks twice.
Yeah.
Both get flagged, both for 15 yards, and the result, one very livid Sean Payton, head coach of the Saints, on the sideline. Now, Bo, do you think that this is him just kind of thumbing his nose at the NFL?
Yeah.
Do you think he's trying to stand out? Do you think he's why would he do this?
It's one of those things where you really don't know where his head's at. I just know I will disagree a lot with the power structure that is NFL, that is the NCAA, but there's sometimes I do agree with him. Jimmy, Deion Sanders celebrations, Billy White Shoes Johnson, they never caused the game to be delayed for 30 minutes. And I can remember that game where he dunked that goalpost.
They had a damn level up on the goal, up on the crossbar, trying to get things straight, man.
That's all it is.
We got enough commercials. We got enough delays. We don't need more from dunking the ball.
Now, this actually is going to take us off on a whole nother thing, because my buddy, who's a Chiefs fan, I always refer to, we watch football together. So this brought up a little bit of a debate about who was the better dunker, because see, Tony G, your guy, was a basketball player. And from my experience, I could dunk barely. Like, it took a lot to get this 300 pounds up off the ground.
Likewise.
So yeah, whenever I would get up on the rim, there was punishment because I was barely getting over it. So I would have to use all my weight to get the ball down. And like with Tony G, it was so elegant because Tony could fly. Tony would just get up there when he'd do his dunk and he'd lay the ball over the goalpost. Jimmy, I'm kind of wondering who's got more hops. I think Tony G's out hopping Jimmy Graham.
Even at his old age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because when Jimmy does his celebration, I argue that the goalpost shakes a lot. And I'm like, that's because he doesn't have real hops. Tony G puts the ball over and he's kind of like, he's got to pull his wrist back.
Does a little pirouette.
Yeah. He's up there waving at his kids, speaking a little Spanish, which he learned in the off season, But Tony G did it gracefully. It was original then, so you really couldn't stop him. Now it's kind of like a copycat thing. There's quite a few guys out there dunking footballs and goalposts when they score. So, yeah, Jimmy Graham, you got to give it up. You got to move on.
Now, apparently, him and Peyton have had a little heart-to-heart following that game. There's a shocker, and they say that this is not going to be an issue in the regular season, which I would tend to believe. Otherwise, I think Graham's going to be suspended and fined by the Saints organization. Don't think you're going to see any dunks come real football season.
Yeah.
Some other stories around the league, Bo. You had something on this. St. Louis Rams did a ticket giveaway to some needy folks.
Yeah, if you're living under a rock, you don't know what's going on in Ferguson, Missouri. A young male was shot, unarmed male was shot by a police officer. We're not going to get into specifics because I like to keep sports and what goes on in the real world separate, because I believe sports are kind of becoming the last release for Americans. We got a lot of stuff going on in this country, a lot of change, some of it good, some of it bad. But owner of the St. Louis Rams, general manager, get together. They see all the rioting going on. Schools have been canceled. This is the first week of school across the country. Me as a young athlete, I used to look forward to beginning of school. Believe it or not, football players love the first semester of school. Why? Because it's football season. After that, we're cashed out till summertime. But they gave out 225 tickets to the high school football players from Ferguson to go to a preseason game in, midst of the tragedy. And I think that's great because, those kids, a lot can be lost. I don't know what Ferguson was looking at, if they have an undefeated season or a state championship in front of them, but with school being canceled and all these things going on.
Recipe for disaster.
Yes. Oh my, I'm a high school football coach, as you know, Sean. Distractions are everywhere. I want to say it's almost as difficult to get high school kids to focus as college kids, because even though college kids are on a campus with all the ladies and the parties going on, they know they have a job to do. High school kids, they're kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out all the time. So I can only imagine in a community where, you got National Guard on the streets, you got riots going on, how hard it is for that coach and those kids to just think about football and put life on kind of, a back burner sometimes, that's what you need football to do. I remember after 9/11, it brought our community together. High school football was going on during that time. NFL was going on. I remember going to a Cincinnati Bengals game shortly after September 11th. And it was just like, it was one of these eerie things where you're just sitting in the stands and everybody has that same heavy heart. They're thinking about what's going on in New York. But we can agree that for 4 hours or 3 hours on that Sunday, we're just going to focus on the Ravens and the Bengals, and with everything else in the world, it just goes away. So it's kind of nice because the NFL, as we know, we jump on them. Everybody jumps on them when they do something wrong. It's just good to see that they realize that there's something going on in their community and they can give a little bit of a helping hand.
What's cool about it to me is that the Rams are being so proactive. It's like they might have saved a kid from doing something incredibly stupid and ruining his entire athletic career. So, yeah, cool. The kids get to go see some pro football. Also cool, the Rams to kind of keep him out of trouble. At least try to for a little bit. So a nice gesture there. Now, Bo, as you know, my man Jamaal Charles did not play in the Chiefs' second preseason game due to a bruised foot. Sounded like something that happened in practice or something. We didn't have too many details. He didn't even travel with the team. But today the story came out of just how Jamaal injured himself, and that was carrying some boxes after the Chiefs wrap training camp. He was apparently walking on some grass and turned his foot on a curb, and all of a sudden you got a bruised foot. He's got to rest for a few days, can't even play. And that's sad in a way. I mean, I kind of didn't want Jamaal Charles playing in the preseason anyway, because we know what Jamaal Charles can do. We don't have to see it. We know what he's about. But it kind of reminded me of all the stupid injuries that have happened in the world of sports over the years, Bo. Here are a few of my favorites.
I want to hear these.
Okay. Sammy Sosa once missed 3 weeks with a back injury after he sneezed violently.
Wow.
Adam Eaton accidentally stabbed himself while trying to open a DVD case with a steak knife. Mariano Rivera, Hall of Famer, tied his shoes, threw out his back. John Smoltz ironed a shirt while he was wearing it. Don't do that, kids.
Smoltzy.
Clint Barnes broke his collarbone by carrying deer meat up to his apartment. You gotta quarter that meat, man.
Yeah.
You can't just grab a whole backstrap there. Hunter Pence walked through a really clean glass door and sliced himself up. This is one of my favorites. Jimmy Gobble kicked a cactus barefoot. Going to some other sports here. You got Brian Greasy, who missed time with a sprained ankle after being chased by a dog.
There you go.
Very athletic.
Yeah.
You mentioned this one, Bo. Bill Grammatica basically kicked a football and leapt up in the air and wound up I don't know if he tore his was it PCL or was it an ankle?
There's a YouTube video still of that. It's hilarious to watch.
Robert Pratt was very enthusiastically running out onto the field for a coin toss and pulled a hammy. Chase Blackburn suffered inner ear injury when he put a Q-tip in too far. That's right. You got to read the.
It's probably his first time.
Got to read the label on those things.
First timer here.
In basketball, Daryl Dawkins sliced his hand open while washing a broken dinner plate. Just throw it out, man. It's not worth it. Tony Allen, after the whistle blew and the play was dead, he attempted to slam dunk a ball, tore his ACL.
There you go. That's why they're taking it out.
Drew Gooden missed games with an infected hair follicle. Painful. Kevin Johnson dislocated a shoulder while giving his teammate a hug.
How big was that guy he was hugging?
So really, in the grand scheme of things, carrying boxes, it's a dumb way to get injured, but it's not the dumbest way to get injured.
Well, it's probably the running joke around the Kansas City Chiefs training camp and campus now. Next year, Jamaal Charles will not be carrying any more boxes when he moves out. That will be a rookie's job. Rookie running back draft pick by the Kansas City Chiefs. Welcome to the show. Get ready to carry Jamaal Charles boxes after training camp. He's not doing it anymore.
Coming up on the show, we're going to look at the college football game. Some stories around college football, including more problems for Notre Dame, my team. They're dealing with an academic fraud situation. Plus, Oklahoma Sooners suspend their rookie running back. We'll talk about that. And I know you're looking forward to this as much as I am, Bo. New Bigfoot footage.
Yes.
We'll be joined by Eric from the Paranormal Review. We're going to be talking about Lake Tahoe and some awesome new footage that has come out. So that's all coming up on the Sean and Bo Show.
Hello, podcast fans. Adam Carolla here. I'm leading the fight against patent trolls who are threatening this medium. It's not about me. It's about the podcast you're listening to right now. If I go down, this show could be next. Visit fundanything.com/patent troll for more information on how you can keep podcasting alive. Thank you and mahalo.
Welcome back to the Sean and Bo Show. I thank all you loyal listeners out there for sticking with us. Man, I want to jump right into this segment. As you know, Sean has told us that he loves those Fighting Irish. And if you were also still living under a rock, you missed that story this weekend. The Fighting Irish decided to turn the magnifying glass on themselves. And no, boy, it was not pretty. Some of the stuff they found was good enough to suspend some players, Sean.
Well, Bo, it's not something that you're going to see USC doing, but you're right. Notre Dame, a fine academic institution, has policed themselves. And in a way, yes, there may have been some cheating or an essay that may or may not have been written by someone else, but like you were saying, they turned themselves in. So at the very, very least, congratulations, Notre Dame, for that. But the real angering thing about this situation, Bo, which you alluded to, 4 different players facing academic fraud allegations from the university. The damning thing about this, Bo, is that it just happened. Our starting quarterback, Everett Golson, prodigy, looked great, then got caught cheating. Guess what happened to him? He missed an entire year of school, missed an entire season of his eligibility. And did these kids learn from him? No, of course not. Can't happen to me.
No.
I'm bulletproof. So again, the losses that Notre Dame is facing for this upcoming season, they're bad losses because these all 4 players were starters, and not just starters, but 2 of them were big time playmakers. The thing that just drives me nuts is that these kids, if indeed they did commit this academic fraud, just didn't learn anything. I mean, you had the opportunity to see what happens at a university like Notre Dame when you get caught cheating. So the 4 players, Kendall Moore, Ishik Williams, Devarius Daniels, who's a terrific wide receiver, and Kyvery Russell, who is also a great defensive back. So amid all these allegations, we're not really finding out exactly the details of the purported academic fraud that took place, but I'm hearing from one of the players that it was about essays. That I guess maybe the Notre Dame thought that these kids weren't doing their own work, or getting their tutors or whoever it was to write these essays.
Hey, here's
for
a
them.
Jersey. Write this for me.
God. But one of their parents is really upset. And they're already commenting to the media that this was mishandled. Father of the wide receiver, Devarius Daniels, took to the media and he had to say, quote, "I really think as a whole, Notre Dame has handled this really bad, man. As a parent, I haven't heard anything from the university. I haven't heard from Coach Kelly. The worst thing that happened was pulling all those kids off the practice field. I heard it from a media source first. I didn't hear it from my son. I didn't hear it from a Notre Dame representative. I heard it from the media."
Oh, lawsuit, baby. Get your money up. It's one of those deals where I say it, you got to start paying these guys, because what they are recruited to do, then what they expect them to do are 2 different things. I'm not going to go looking around a coal mine for a bunch of young men to come graduate from the University of Notre Dame, but I'm going to go hanging around a bunch of Western Pennsylvania, Southern Indiana, North Texas towns looking for those same young men to come win me a national championship. Ladies and gentlemen, you know that it doesn't go together. At best, I was a C student. I went to school because I liked athletics, there's nothing wrong with that. There's a ton of people out there who, is fake their way through high school. They join the military, they join some other organization, they find their way and they have a successful career. Nobody's mad at that. It's just that we're asking these young men, and sometimes on the other side, the young women, to go to a university that is really good at what they do. I would love to wear the golden domes and play for Notre Dame any day. But I would laugh if they came to me and they said, "So, Mr. Greer, we really like what you do on the field. How are your academics?" I'd just look at them and be like, "Not good enough to go to your school."
Yeah, and I mean, this has been brought up by other sports talk. I think if you're not going to pay these kids, I think what would be a reasonable solution is allow them to major in playing football.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not called that. Maybe it's, athletic management,
yes,
or even just some sort of financial courses so that they don't go broke like we saw in the 30 for 30 documentary. But yeah, I mean, maybe don't hold them to the same standards as the 4.2 GPA perfect SAT other student that isn't at Notre Dame to play football.
And what people don't understand is the amount of hours. I am so sure when I talk to people, the word, you ask anybody who played college athletics, you know the number one phrase I hate, Sean? Free ride. There's nothing free about an athletic scholarship. You earn it every day you're there. Sometimes 6, 7, 8 hours of practice and film and workouts and the whole, non-voluntary, voluntary, where if you go home, you're not going to be on the team. You have to stay at campus while all the other kids are gone. So you put all that together, which I have a friend, Chris Brennan. I'll see if he would be willing to come on the show in a few weeks and just let us know. He's a Notre Dame graduate, ladies and gentlemen, good friend of mine, a school teacher. He used to tell me about these study habits that you have to develop just to get a bachelor's from the University of Notre Dame. He's talking about hours upon hours of studying a day. Hell, Sean, I had to get into it with my coaches at the University of New Mexico because my senior year, I had this one statistics class that they only offered from 4 to 5:15. That's practice time, baby.
Talk about practice?
Yeah. So here I am the last 30 minutes of that practice, 6'3", 300 pounds, 335 pounds at the time. That's why I got to go to class. Who was going to stop me? Really. I only have so many semesters left at this university for free. My parents are not rich and I don't have a trust fund. So when this money runs out, I need to have a degree in my hand. I was not going to let another semester go by where football was in charge or in front of that class, because at that time there was only 1 or 2 agents talking to me, or not agents, scouts when they come to practice. I wasn't thinking the NFL was filling me a whole lot, so I had to start shifting into getting a degree.
Sure, smart.
And a lot of players go through that, but what you find out when you're a junior and senior, you go to coach and you're like, Coach, I have to take this class for my degree program. They'll tell you flat out, do they offer it at a different time of day? Because you're going to have to take that in the summer. So I know what these guys are going through. And I can only imagine at Notre Dame trying to get your grades and go to practice.
Now, we got some awesome conversation coming up. I can't wait to get to this new Bigfoot footage that we're going to be talking to Eric from the Paranormal Review about, but a couple other stories about the college game that we were looking for. This next one, Bo, it's just happening way too often. I don't know. Yeah. The last 6 months, it seemed like every other week there's been a male athlete getting in trouble for beating a woman.
Yeah, it really is. It's out of control. The most recent one was Mr. Joe Mixon, suspended a whole season at the University of Oklahoma. He came in as the number 6 rated running back in the entire country. So he was going to see the field. I don't think that buddy wasn't going to be a red shirt. From what I'm understanding, there was some sort of altercation between him and a girlfriend where he ended up punching her.
Was it even a girlfriend?
Oh, I don't know, because what I was reading from some of the
not that it matters or anything, but
I was going to the Norman because I always like the local paper because they know stories of people.
Sure.
This is allegedly, apparently this young lady that he's dealing with has an extensive rap sheet and is very well known with the local police in that town. So the attorney that he has, this is going to shake out over a while. So, but what I'm getting at with this story, what really struck me, it wasn't really, like you said, there's been way too much of this going on. And I think we're going to get caught up in who's hitting who, what sport he played, and we're losing the bigger picture. The University of Oklahoma acted swifter and in a way that's going to send a message to the rest of the players on their football team and other athletic teams. Don't do this an entire season. He can only go to class. He can't be around the team. He can't go to workouts. This young man's going to be tested, because when you take football away from a young athlete, they make other mistakes.
That's a multi-million-dollar lottery ticket that was in his pocket.
Yeah.
This was no slouch running back, and he could have screwed all that up for himself.
Yeah.
And honestly, deservedly so, if it's true. We're just seeing way too much of this in sports. It's good to see an organization being swift and decisive with their punishment, and hopefully it's going to send a message to other student athletes and professional athletes, for that matter, out there.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely time. And just, to hit on some other universities, there's a Title IX lawsuit that's actually under works here at the University of New Mexico and at Tulsa, involving players that were allowed on campus that had prior rap sheets. If you're not protecting the student body, I don't care if it's a regular student, a student athlete, somebody in the science club, whatever. If he has a rap sheet and his suspect, he can't be around other individuals or he's harmed people in the past, and you allow them on campus and they do it again, university's in trouble. And a lot of these universities are going to start filling it in their wallet because I don't know if you remember this, Obama passed a law on this. If you let people on campus that are a danger to others, you can get sued. And that's going to change. Yeah, you're liable. So whenever you attack the pocketbook, I was telling my wife, you're going to hear in the future, universities will start doing background checks on their student athletes. It won't no longer, like when I was getting recruited, they called your athletic department, they called your kindergarten teacher. Now they're probably just going to get your social security number and run you through every system in America.
All right, I don't want to keep our guests waiting too much longer. There was one other story that we wanted to get to, Bo, a coaching change or a sign of things that might be coming.
Yeah. And I'm not going to leave it out there. I coach football. I had an interview with Indiana State a few weeks ago. It didn't work out. I was going to be the director of football operations. I hope to one day have a whistle around my neck and a headset on making the salaries that these guys make. But Bobby Petrino, who left Louisville in a haste and went down to the Atlanta Falcons and left them in the middle of the night for the Arkansas job, before he wrecked the motorcycle and got the DUI with the young girl in the back who worked in his front office, just got hired again at the University of Louisville. You can't tell me, not just black or white, that there's not other individuals out there that have put their time in, worked their ways up the coaching ladders, kept themselves out of the media, and they can't have that job. But Petrino, I always call it the good old boy network, he calls the athletic director, drives 600 miles in the middle of the night, and in 2 days, he's the next head coach at the University of Louisville. It's not going to work that way for Charlie Strong. It's not going to work that way for many other guys I consider to name. But I just wanted to put that out there because it really disgusted me. Louisville, I will not be watching any of your football games this year.
Maybe they just wanted to teach the children about what can go wrong on a motorcycle. It's living proof, Bo.
Yeah.
All right. Time for our favorite segment, Bo. Bigfoot. As you know, the motto of the show, sports, entertainment, Bigfoot. And I got real excited earlier today when I was browsing YouTube and saw some brand new Bigfoot footage. This came from Lake Tahoe. And on to discuss it, we are joined by Eric from the Paranormal Review. And Eric, I saw the Paranormal Review, the YouTube channel that you have there, and I thought it was a really cool thing where people send you footage of maybe something paranormal, maybe a squatch, maybe an alien, and you're not necessarily looking to debunk it, but you do analyze it. So we're joined by Eric. Eric, how are you this evening?
Great. Thanks for having me on.
Now, talk a little bit about this footage that I'm going to post on our Twitter at Sean and Bo Show, and give us the Paranormal Reviews website on YouTube where they can find this video as well.
Okay, yeah, just youtube.com/theparanormalreviews would be the address for our channel.
Okay. Now this happened at Lake Tahoe. I guess it was like a skateboarder that was kind of careening down a paved road, but down a big hill, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how steep this hill is. From the footage, it looks fairly steep, but I can't, it's a GoPro Hero 3 that he says that he filmed it on.
Right.
And actually, we have a new development. I'm not sure if you've seen any of the comments on the video. They've actually narrowed down the location. I think it was Ward Creek Boulevard.
Okay.
So that's more of an exact location in Lake Tahoe, just outside of Tahoe City.
Hey, how's it going, Eric? This is Bo with the Sean and Bo Show. I'm glad to have you on. How you doing today?
Pretty good, thanks.
That's good, man. I was checking out the video. As soon as I walked in, Sean has a smile from ear to ear, and he's telling me about this new Sasquatch sighting. And, a lot of times, like you were saying, it's you can't believe it because they focus too much on it. And if it's going to happen, I would think it's going to happen like this. Somebody just happens to catch one at a glance. As you analyze the video and move forward, have you found anything that makes you believe that it is a fake?
That's the thing is we've reviewed over 60 videos now. We're probably more at around 70. We haven't uploaded all of them yet. And this particular one, among a couple other few, comes across as very legitimate. I mean, most of them, they're holding the camera and they're seeing this creature. Hey, what is that? What is that?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And you can see that, this is just someone trying to get views. But in this particular case, I mean, I didn't even see it until like the third time I watched it.
Eric, I don't mean to be rude. I completely forgot one of our traditions here at the Sean and Bo Show. Whenever we talk about any form of squatch, is a Little Squatch beer. Now, if you could give us a brief synopsis of what actually happens in the video, so our viewers that haven't yet got to see the video can understand what we're talking about here.
Okay, so basically, if you look at the footage online, there's about 55 seconds of footage that we put up. Now, originally, Couch Potato, it's a user on YouTube, had sent us about 7 minutes of footage, but nothing else happens in the whole entire footage. It's just him going down this road and among several others. And so we just took out this 55 second part, and he basically just going down this hill, and you can kind of see the creature or the supposed creature through the trees.
Yeah, it just kind of looks like at first you just kind of see a black shape in the middle of a big bush or a big tree, correct?
Yeah, and that could be a shadow, but I mean, it's plausible that it is the creature. And then as soon as he passes this bush, he kind of weaves to the left a little bit, and you catch like a millisecond of this creature just standing there, and it looks pretty tall.
Yeah,
and then it's gone.
And this guy's riding a longboard, and typically, I don't know how into longboarding you are, Eric, but typically if you're going down a big hill, you're kind of weaving back and forth, kind of an S shape to maintain speed. And, you know, like you said in the video, if you're trying to avoid cracks and whatnot. So he's just kind of cruising down this hill. And as you pointed out in your analysis, the GoPro camera, for those folks out there that have never used one, it's almost what people refer to as a fisheye lens. That is, if you're looking straight ahead with the camera, you're going to see much wider than maybe the human eye would see. So when he passes this bush, after the first time we see this figure, he's not really looking at where this thing emerges, which as you pointed out, kind of gives more credence to the fact that this might be a legit video. It's not somebody just, staring at an object in the woods that's immobile saying, oh, look, a Bigfoot. I mean, this guy didn't even see this figure until he reviewed the footage after the fact, correct?
Yeah.
So that kind of makes it a little bit more real to me. And the way you slowed down the footage as he passed that bush, and man, it just gave me a goosebump just now thinking about it. Because, I mean, you can see it's not crystal clear, but it certainly looks like something standing upright. It doesn't look like a bear. It doesn't look like a coyote or anything like that. And I showed it to Bo as soon as he came over here, and he basically had the exact same response. Wow.
And if you can't tell, talking to us, we're believers. We are definitely believers. Where do you stand?
I believe too.
So, have you ever come across any footage that was extremely just a bad fake that you knew right away was not legit?
There are several. Most of them, I mean, doing these reviews, I would say about 30% of them are just absolutely obviously fake.
Sure.
And then there's about 40 or 50% of them that I can say, okay, this might be real. And then there's just a very low amount that I say these are actual, possibly could be either true or it's a misidentification.
Okay, so as far as the footage that you've reviewed, is this one of the stronger cases that you've seen personally?
Yes, this is probably in the top 5.
And again,
that I would say.
Yeah, and again, you can check this out. Definitely watch this video. Maybe late at night. Maybe scare the hell out of your children or something like that. Go to our Twitter at Sean and Bo Show, or you can go directly on YouTube, The Paranormal Reviews. Bo?
Now, real quick, Eric, as you know, if you've listened to the show, our listeners out there, our loyal listeners, they know that Sean and I, if we ever get sponsorship, we're heading straight to the woods. We're camping out. We're not making a lot of smells or sounds, and we're looking for Sasquatch. If we were to invite you on this expedition, where are we going to see one?
That's a good question. There's a lot of BC encounters that in the recent years. I don't know if that's because they're going viral on YouTube and people are trying to reenact those. So British Columbia seems to be a hot spot. Also, Utah recently has had quite a few encounters that have, from what we've seen in our reviews and on other people's reviews, and what we think of it, have been pretty legitimate. So either of those two places could be a hotspot.
Well, if you're hearing that out there, sponsors, get us some money. We need to go to British Columbia.
We need to go
Utah.
squatching. Eric, we'd be great at it. We're both about the size of Bigfoot. It'd be win-win. We wouldn't need any weapons, It'd be awesome. But
sounds good to me.
Yeah, this is an awesome project that Eric's working on. Again, it's The Paranormal Reviews. Do you focus on just Bigfoot, or are you also looking at like UFOs and that sort of stuff as well?
Our original goal was to do pretty much everything paranormal, and actually still is. We just happened to get on this Bigfoot fever thing for a while, but I actually have another send-in from one lady, and I'll keep her name a secret for now. But she sent us in about 5 or 6 photos of some kind of, along with a really cool story that happened in an elementary school. So we're going to get to reviewing that here in a little bit, as well as another Bigfoot in Alaska.
All right. See, that's how you do it, Bo. He's teasing the content.
Yeah, I like that.
So again, go to The Paranormal Reviews on YouTube. If you'd like to see the video in question that we're talking about, the Lake Tahoe footage, we'll post that on our Twitter at Sean and Bo Show. And Eric, it's been a pleasure. Hopefully we'll talk soon as more footage gets analyzed and you post some great content to YouTube, man.
Thanks a lot, guys. And if you ever want to talk again or have any questions about any of that footage, feel free to contact me.
We really appreciate what you're doing out there, Eric, man. That's awesome, man. We'll be paying attention to you.
No worries. Just trying to divide the truth from those the hoaxes. So
Yep. Great work, Eric. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Sean and Bo Show. So until next Monday, I'm Sean O'Donnell, along with my co-host Bo Greer, reminding you, tip your pizza man.
See you next week.